The void gate hung in space like a massive ring of dark metal, so large that 3 battleships could pass through it side by side. It had been there for 50,000 years, silent and deadly. Every species in the galaxy knew about VG Prime. Every species feared it. Captain Minji Park stood on the bridge of the Earth vessel Practical Solutions and stared at the gate through the view screen. It looked almost beautiful, covered in strange symbols that glowed with a dim blue light. But Minji knew those symbols were warnings. Warnings that had been translated into 12,000 different languages over the centuries. They all said the same thing. Stay away, Captain. We're receiving multiple hails from the observer ships, said Lieutenant Jae-sung Choi from the communication station. The Korthak Communion is demanding we turn back immediately. Minji glanced at the tactical display. 19 ships from 7 different species surrounded the area, all keeping a respectful distance from the gate. They had been there for 3 weeks, ever since Earth announced its intention to approach VG Prime. Most of them probably expected to watch humanity get vaporized. Tell them we appreciate their concern, Minji said calmly. But we have a job to do. The Void Gate network connected distant parts of the galaxy through instant transportation. There were hundreds of gates, and most of them worked perfectly. Ships used them every day. But VG Prime had been sealed since before the oldest galactic civilization had invented writing. 12 different species had tried to approach it over the millennia. All 12 had been destroyed instantly, turned to atoms by the gate's defense system. The Galactic Council had declared VG Prime off-limits 5,000 years ago. It was considered a sacred mystery, a reminder that some ancient technology should not be touched. But when Earth joined the Council 6 months ago, human engineers had reviewed the historical data with different eyes. It's a machine, Minji had told the Council during the heated debate. Machines need maintenance. This one has been operating for 50,000 years without any. We should at least check on it. The elder species had been horrified. The Korthak representative, a being that looked like a floating crystal cluster, had literally changed colors in distress. You speak of the Forbidden Gate as if it were a water pump. If a water pump ran for 50,000 years, I'd be worried about it too, Minji had replied. Now she was here, with a small crew and a ship designed for engineering work rather than combat. The Practical Solutions carried repair drones, diagnostic equipment, and enough spare parts to fix a space station. It did not carry weapons. All stations ready, Captain, reported Engineer Davis from his station. Diagnostic scanners are online. Repair drones are prepped and ready to deploy. Minji took a deep breath. Earth had given her this mission because she had spent 15 years maintaining deep space infrastructure in the Sol system. She had fixed failing reactors, patched hull breaches, and once kept a spinning station from tearing itself apart. She was good at her job. But this was different. Take us in slowly, she ordered. Full sensor sweep. I want to know everything about that structure. The ship moved forward. The observer vessels all backed away, as if whatever was about to happen might be contagious. Minji understood their fear. The historical records showed that the previous 12 attempts had ended in less than a second. Ships simply vanished in flashes of light. Their atoms scattered across space. As the Practical Solutions crossed an invisible threshold, the gate activated. The dim blue symbols suddenly blazed with bright light. The empty ring filled with a swirling field of energy that looked like liquid metal. And something vast and ancient woke up inside the gate's systems. Alarms blared across the bridge. Captain, we're being scanned, Jae-sung shouted. Multiple targeting locks. Energy signatures building. Minji felt her heart racing but kept her voice steady. Open a channel. Standard radio frequency. Channel open, Jae-sung confirmed, his hands shaking slightly. Minji cleared her throat. This is Captain Minji Park of the Earth vessel Practical Solutions. We are here to perform the 50,000-year maintenance inspection on this facility. We need to check structural integrity, power systems, and safety protocols. Please acknowledge. Silence filled the bridge. On the tactical display, The energy signatures continued building. The observer ships were moving even farther away. Then, impossibly, the targeting locks flickered. The weapons did not fire. Instead, a message appeared on every screen in the ship. It was in a language no one had seen before. But it was accompanied by mathematical symbols that made its meaning clear. Unauthorized presence detected. Specify authorization code, or be eliminated in 10 seconds. 9 seconds, Captain, Davis called out. Minji's mind raced. Authorization code? The builders had been gone for 50,000 years. Whatever codes they used were lost to time. But maintenance systems often had override protocols for emergencies. Send this message, she said quickly. We are authorized under Critical Infrastructure Preservation Act, Section 7. This structure has exceeded maximum operational time without inspection. We are here to ensure public safety. The countdown stopped at 3 seconds. For a long moment, nothing happened. The gate's energy field continued swirling. The symbols continued glowing. But the weapons did not fire. Then new text appeared. Maintenance authorization Curie received. Jae-sung let out a breath he had been holding. Captain, it's talking to us. Of course it is, Minji said, though she felt like her legs might give out. It's a machine. Machines follow protocols. Get me a direct link to that system. Engineering standard format. As her crew worked to establish a proper communication channel, Minji allowed herself a small smile. The gate had not destroyed them because they had not approached as warriors seeking conquest or scientists seeking knowledge. They had approached as engineers seeking to do their job. Behind them, on 19 different observer ships, alien crews watched in absolute confusion. The humans were arguing about maintenance schedules with an ancient weapons system, and somehow, impossibly, it was working. The gate's defensive systems remained active, but had not fired. For the first time in 50,000 years, VG Prime was waiting to see what would happen next. Minji pulled up her datapad and began reviewing Earth's standard maintenance protocols for ancient structures. She had a feeling it was going to be a very long day. But at least they were still alive. The communication channel stabilized after 20 minutes of careful negotiation. Minji watched as her engineer, Davis, worked with the ancient system to establish a common protocol. It was like watching someone teach two people who spoke different languages to communicate through mathematics and diagrams. Got it, Davis finally said. The system is using a variation of binary logic combined with quantum state markers. Old, but functional. We can talk to it now. That's C, Minji nodded and activated her headset. This is Captain Park. We have established communication protocols. Please provide facility status report. The response came faster this time, translated through their ship's computer into simple text. Facility designation. Void Gate Prime. Status. Operational, with degradation. Maintenance, overdue by 40,000 standard cycles. Identify maintenance authority, 40,000 cycles. Minji did quick math in her head. The builders had expected maintenance every 10,000 years. They had missed 4 complete cycles. For any structure, that was dangerous. For something this size and power, it was terrifying. This is Captain Minji Park, Chief Engineer, Earth Infrastructure Corps. Authorization. Critical Infrastructure Preservation Act. Section 7. We are here to perform emergency inspection and repairs as needed. Another pause. Minji could imagine the ancient computer system processing this information, comparing it against protocols that had been written when Earth's ancestors were still learning to use stone tools. Query. Specify relationship to architects. The architects. That was what the galactic historians called the ancient builders. No one knew what they had called themselves. They had vanished 50,000 years ago, leaving behind only their machines. Minji chose her words carefully. The architects are no longer available. Under standard emergency maintenance protocols, authorized contractors may perform critical repairs to prevent infrastructure failure and protect public safety. On the view screen, she could see the observer ships moving in slightly closer. They were recording everything. This conversation was going to be studied for centuries, assuming everyone survived. Architect's absence confirmed. The gate responded. Facility has attempted to contact architects for 47,312 cycles. No response received. Emergency protocols permit contractor authorization. Jae-sung turned in his seat. Captain, I'm receiving multiple transmissions from the observer ships. They're asking what's happening. The Korthak Communion specifically wants to know why we're not dead yet. Tell them we're conducting maintenance negotiations, Minji said, and ask them to please maintain current distance. We don't know how the gate will react to interference. She turned back to the communication channel. Void Gate Prime. Please specify nature of degradation. What maintenance is required? Endin. The response included a data stream so large it nearly crashed their computer. Davis caught it just in time, routing it to secondary storage. Captain, this thing just sent us. I don't even know what to call it. Diagnostic reports, maintenance logs, system specifications. There's 50,000 years of data here. Minji felt a chill run down her spine. This was real. The gate had been operating alone for 50,000 years, keeping records, monitoring its own degradation, waiting for someone to come and help it. The thought made her sad and angry at the same time. What kind of civilization built something this important and then just abandoned it? Store everything, she ordered. We'll analyze it later. For now, I need the summary. What's failing? Davis worked for several minutes, the ancient system helping him navigate through the massive data files. Finally, he looked up, his face pale. Captain, we have a serious problem. 3 other gates in the network are approaching critical failure. If they collapse, the energy release will be catastrophic. Define catastrophic, Minji said, though she suspected she knew the answer. Star system ending catastrophic, Davis replied quietly. Each gate contains enough stored energy to vaporize everything within several light hours. If containment fails... Losing. Minji closed her eyes briefly. This was so much bigger than she had expected. Void Gate Prime. Confirm Engineer Davis's analysis. Are 3 network gates approaching critical failure? Confirmed. Void Gates 7, 15, and 23. Showing severe containment degradation. Estimated time to failure. Gate 7 at 96 hours. Gate 15 at 200 hours. Gate 23 at 300 hours. 96 hours. 4 days. Minji felt the weight of billions of lives suddenly pressing down on her shoulders. Gate 7 was in the Helios sector. She pulled up her star charts. There were inhabited systems nearby. A lot of them. Jae-sung, get me a priority channel to Earth and the Galactic Council, right now. While her communications officer worked, Minji continued talking to the gate. Void Gate Prime, can you provide us with repair procedures? What maintenance should have been performed? Accessing maintenance archives. A pause. Warning. Full maintenance procedures require architect-level technology and knowledge. Emergency stabilization procedures available for contractor-level authorization. Send us the emergency procedures, Minji said immediately. More data flooded their systems. This time it came with something else. 3-dimensional diagrams showing the internal structure of the gates. They were incredibly complex, with power systems that made human fusion reactors look like children's toys. But the basic principles were universal. Energy needed to be contained. Structural elements needed to remain intact. Heat needed to be dissipated. Davis studied the diagrams with growing excitement. Captain, I think we can actually do this. It's not about understanding how the gates work. It's about fixing the safety systems. Look here. He highlighted a section of the diagram. This is a containment field generator. It's not alien magic. It's just very advanced engineering. And it's cracked. Can we fix it? Minji asked. If we can get to it? Maybe. The procedures the gate sent include step-by-step instructions. They're designed for maintenance crews who don't fully understand the technology, like repair manuals for complex equipment. You don't need to know how a fusion reactor works to replace a cooling pump. 1. ATH. 1. And then, Minji felt hope rising in her chest. Voidgate Prime. We accept contractor authorization. Transmit all emergency repair procedures. We will begin with Gate 7 as Priority 1. Authorization accepted. Updating contractor database. Designating Earth personnel as authorized maintenance contractors. Emergency repair procedures transmitted. Warning. Gate 7. Repair requires physical presence at Gate 7 facility. Remote repair, not possible. Of course, it wasn't that simple. It never was. Understood, Minji said. Voidgate Prime. Can you open the gateway network for our ship? We need to reach Gate 7. Affirmative. Gateway travel, authorized for maintenance contractors. Specify destination. Minji looked at her crew. They all looked back at her with expressions mixing fear and determination. They were engineers, not heroes. But right now, the galaxy needed engineers more than it needed heroes. Destination. Gate 7 facility, she said firmly. Emergency maintenance response. The gate's energy field shifted, changing from swirling chaos to a stable, mirror-like surface. An invitation. A path forward. And maybe, just maybe, a chance to save billions of lives. All hands, secure for gate transit, Minji ordered. We have a job to do. Behind them, 19 observer ships watched as the human vessel flew directly into the ancient gate that had killed everyone who approached it for 50,000 years. But this time, the gate did not kill. This time, it welcomed them. Because humanity had not come as conquerors or explorers. They had come with toolboxes and maintenance manuals, and sometimes, that made all the difference. The transition through the gate was instantaneous and disorienting. One moment, the practical solutions was floating in front of VG Prime, surrounded by observer ships. The next moment, they were 300 light-years away, emerging near Gate 7. Minji gripped her chair as the ship's systems adjusted to the sudden change in position. Status report. All systems green, Davis called out. That was smoother than any gate transit I've experienced. Whatever the architects built, they built it well. Through the view screen, Minji could see Gate 7. It looked similar to VG Prime but smaller, and something was clearly wrong. Sections of the ring glowed with an angry red light instead of the calm blue. Parts of the structure appeared to shimmer and fade, as if reality itself was having trouble holding it together. I'm reading massive energy fluctuations, Davis reported, his voice tense. Containment fields are at 37%. Captain, if those fields fail completely, he didn't need to finish. Minji could see the tactical display. 4 inhabited systems within the danger zone. 12 billion people. She pushed the thought away and focused on the job. Void Gate 7, this is Contractor Park. We are here for emergency maintenance. Request permission to dock with facility. The response came immediately, as if Gate 7 had been desperately waiting for someone to arrive. Acknowledged. Maintenance contractors detected. Docking. Port Alpha. Activating. Warning. Internal radiation levels elevated. A section of the gate's outer ring opened, revealing a docking bay that was far larger than their ship. The practical solutions maneuvered inside, and massive doors closed behind them. Atmosphere in the bay, Jae-sung reported, checking his sensors. Breathable, surprisingly. Temperature is stable, but radiation levels are 3 times higher than safe. Break out the heavy suits, Minji ordered. Davis, you're with me. Jae-sung. You have the bridge. Monitor everything. If the situation changes, get the ship clear and report back to Earth. Captain, regulations say you shouldn't, Jae-sung began. Regulations also say we shouldn't be inside a 50,000-year-old alien structure trying to prevent a catastrophe, Minji interrupted gently. I need my best engineer with me, and I need someone I trust running the ship. That's you. 15 minutes later, Minji and Davis stood inside the gate facility, wearing heavy radiation suits and carrying equipment packs. The interior was massive, filled with machinery that hummed with power. Lights flickered on as they moved through corridors, as if the structure was waking up around them. This place is incredible, Davis whispered, his voice crackling through the suit radio. The architects they were on a completely different level. They were also apparently terrible at maintenance schedules, Minji replied, checking her datapad. According to the instructions Voidgate Prime sent us, we need to reach the central containment chamber. It's about 1 kilometer deeper into the structure. They walked through halls that no one had entered for 50,000 years. The walls were covered in the same glowing symbols they had seen on the gate's exterior. Some were green, some were yellow, but far too many were red or flickering between colors. Those are status indicators, Davis said, studying them as they passed. Green means operational. Yellow means degraded but functional. Red means failed or failing. Formality. Red means failed or failing. There are a lot of red ones, Minji observed quietly. Yeah, Davis agreed. This place is held together by hope and momentum at this point. It took them 30 minutes to reach the central chamber. When the massive doors opened, both of them stopped and stared. The room was spherical, at least 200 meters in diameter. At its center floated a sphere of pure energy, contained by a web of flickering force fields. This was the heart of the gate, the power source that made instant travel across the galaxy possible. And it was dying. Large sections of the containment field were simply gone. The energy sphere was held in place by perhaps half of its original restraints. As they watched, one of the field generators sparked and failed, making the entire structure shudder. 96 hours, Davis said quietly. Minji pulled up the repair procedures on her datapad. The instructions were detailed, but they were also clearly written for a civilization that understood this technology far better than humanity did. She scrolled through screens of information, translating what she could. Okay, she said finally. The good news is that we don't need to fix the original generators. We need to install new stabilizers to take the load off the failing systems. The gate has manufacturing capabilities. It can build the parts we need. And the bad news? Davis asked. The bad news is that installing them requires someone to get very close to that energy sphere. Close enough that the radiation will go through these suits like they're not even here. Davis was quiet for a moment. How close? Minji showed him the diagram. About 10 meters, for approximately 6 minutes. That's a death sentence, Davis said flatly. Not necessarily, Minji replied, though her stomach felt like ice. If we work fast, if we have everything prepared and rehearsed, if we use the absolute maximum radiation medication dosages, we might survive. We'll definitely be sick. We'll probably need extensive medical treatment. But we might survive. And if we don't do it, 12 billion people die, Minji said simply. They stood in silence for a moment, looking at the slowly collapsing containment field. Finally, Davis let out a long breath. Well, when you put it that way, let's get to work. They spent the next 6 hours preparing. The gate's manufacturing system produced the new stabilizer units, following designs that were older than human civilization. Minji and Davis studied the installation procedures until they could recite them in their sleep. They mapped out every movement, every action, eliminating wasted time. They contacted the ship and explained the situation. Jae-sung wanted to help, but Minji refused. If this goes wrong, someone needs to survive to warn Earth and the Galactic Council. That's you. She also sent a message to Earth, explaining what they were about to attempt. She tried to keep it professional. But at the end, she added a personal note to her family. Just in case. Finally, there was nothing left to prepare. Minji and Davis stood at the entrance to the central chamber, carrying the stabilizer units and wearing suits with every radiation shield the ship could provide. It wasn't enough. But it was all they had. Ready? Minji asked. Absolutely not, Davis replied. They entered the chamber and began their work. The radiation meters on their suits immediately began climbing into the red zone. Warning alarms screamed in their helmets, but they ignored them. There was no time for caution. Minji reached the first installation point and began working with mechanical precision. Her hands shook, whether from fear or radiation exposure. She couldn't tell. Beside her, Davis was installing his stabilizer, moving with desperate speed. First unit in place, Minji reported, her voice already sounding weak. Second unit installed, Davis confirmed. Moving to position 3. They kept working. The radiation tore through their bodies, damaging cells faster than they could repair. Minji felt her vision starting to blur. Her hands felt heavy, clumsy, but she kept moving, kept working, because 12 billion people were depending on 2 engineers with toolboxes. Third unit. Complete, she gasped. Fourth. Done, Davis replied, his voice barely a whisper. 2 more to go. Minji's legs nearly gave out as she moved to the 5th position. She could taste blood in her mouth. The world was starting to fade around the edges, but the stabilizer was right there. Just had to install it. Just had to. 5 complete, she managed to say. 6 is done, Davis said. Minji, we need to get out now. Confirm. Confirm all units active, Minji ordered, forcing the words out. Her datapad screen swam before her eyes, but she could see the status indicators turning from red to green. All 6 stabilizers were online. The containment field was stabilizing. The central energy sphere stopped its dangerous fluctuation and settled into a steady, controlled pulse. It worked, she whispered. Then the world went black, and she felt herself falling. Strong hands caught her, and through the darkness, she heard Davis's voice. Got you, Captain. Time to go home. The last thing she remembered was being dragged toward the exit. Their mission complete. Their bodies broken, but 12 billion people safe for another day. Minji woke up in a medical bay. Her body felt like it was on fire from the inside, but she was alive. That was more than she had expected. Welcome back, Captain, a familiar voice said. She turned her head carefully and saw Davis in the bed next to hers, looking as terrible as she felt. We've been out for 3 days. 3 days? Minji croaked, her throat raw. The other gates. Stable for now, Davis assured her. Jae-sung got us out and rushed us to the nearest medical station. The Galactic Council has been going crazy. We're apparently famous. A doctor entered, one of the Mirathi species with their multiple arms and kind, round eyes. Ah! Captain Park. You're awake. Good. You and Engineer Davis received enough radiation to kill most species 3 times over. Humans, it seems, are remarkably stubborn about dying. The repairs? Minji managed to ask. Successful. Gate 7 is stable. The entire galaxy watched your helmet camera footage. It has been educational for many people. The doctor adjusted some equipment. You both need extensive treatment, but you will recover fully. Your species' regenerative abilities are quite impressive. Over the next week, as Minji and Davis slowly healed, the galaxy erupted in debate. The Galactic Council called emergency sessions. News broadcasts showed the footage of 2 humans in radiation suits, working calmly in conditions that would kill most beings instantly, saving billions of lives. The Korthak Communion, who had protested Earth's mission so strongly, sent an official delegation to the medical station. Their representative, a being named Crystalline Harmony, floated into Minji's room while she was reviewing repair reports. Captain Park, Crystalline said, their crystalline body shifting through colors that Minji's translator indicated meant deep respect. I came to apologize. When your people said you would approach the forbidden gate for maintenance, I thought you were fools rushing to your death. I was wrong. Minji set down her datapad. You weren't entirely wrong. We almost did die. But you did not hesitate, Crystalline continued. When you learned of the danger to billions, you acted immediately. My people debated for 3 days about whether to send help. You simply fixed the problem. It needed fixing, Minji said simply. Someone had to do it. That is what I do not understand, Crystalline admitted. Why humans? You are new to space. There are older species with more experience, better technology. Why did the gate accept you when it destroyed all others? Minji thought about that question carefully. I think it's because we didn't approach the gate as something mysterious or sacred. We approached it as infrastructure. Earth is a harsh world. Earthquakes, storms, volcanoes, temperature extremes. Our planet actively tries to kill us. We learned early that everything needs maintenance. Buildings, bridges, power systems, everything. If you don't maintain it, people die. So you simply extended that philosophy to alien technology? Why wouldn't we? Minji asked. A machine is a machine. It doesn't matter if it was built yesterday or 50,000 years ago. It still needs someone to check it, repair it, keep it running safely. Crystalline was silent for a long moment. My people build things to last forever. We design for permanence. The idea of constant maintenance seems exhausting. It is exhausting, Minji agreed. But nothing lasts forever without care. They built incredible things and then just assumed they would always work. But they didn't. And eventually, the architects disappeared, leaving their machines to slowly fail. The crystalline being's colors shifted to a darker shade, a cautionary tale. More than that, Minji said. It's a responsibility. Now that we know about the Void Gate network, we can't just leave it to collapse. We need to take care of it. After Crystalline left, Jae-sung entered with a datapad full of messages. Captain, you need to see this. The Galactic Council wants to establish something called the Galactic Infrastructure Maintenance Authority, and they want Earth to lead it. Minji sat up straighter, wincing at the pain. Because apparently, we're the only species who thinks about maintenance before disaster strikes, Jae-sung explained. The Council reviewed 50,000 years of galactic history. You know how many times any species tried to inspect ancient infrastructure? 0. They either worshipped it from a distance or tried to study it like a science project. We're the first ones who showed up with a checklist and asked what needed fixing. That's ridiculous, Minji protested. Other species must maintain their own structures. They do, but only their own. Modern stuff they understand. Ancient technology? They treat it like magic. You treated it like a really old bridge that needs inspection. Jae-sung pulled up more files. It gets better. 6 other ancient structures have been identified across the galaxy, all of them sealed or dangerous. The Council wants human engineers to evaluate all of them. Minji looked at the list. Ancient power stations, defensive platforms, atmosphere processors on abandoned worlds, all of them built by the architects or other vanished civilizations, all of them slowly breaking down. How many people are in danger if these fail? She asked quietly. Unknown, but potentially trillions. Some of these structures are in populated areas, if they fail catastrophically. Jae-sung didn't finish the sentence. Minji closed her eyes and rubbed her temples. We're going to need more engineers. A lot more. Over the next month, as Minji and Davis continued recovering, Earth sent delegations to the Galactic Council. The Practical Solutions was joined by 7 other human ships, each carrying engineering teams. Other species, seeing what was at stake, began contributing resources and personnel. The Galactic Infrastructure Maintenance Authority was officially established with Captain Minji Park as its first director. She accepted reluctantly, knowing the scope of the job was enormous. 50,000 years of neglected infrastructure across an entire galaxy. But there was a complication. Not all species were happy about humanity's new role. The Zarak Collective, a proud warrior race, sent a formal protest. Humans have been in space for barely 2 centuries, their ambassador declared in the council chambers. This responsibility is too great for such a young species. We should lead this effort. Minji, attending via remote link from her medical bed, responded calmly. Ambassador Zarak, with respect, when Gate 7 was failing, how long did your people debate before offering to help? The ambassador's facial plates flushed with anger. That is not relevant. It is completely relevant, Minji replied. You had the same data we did. You knew 12 billion lives were at risk. But you waited to see what would happen. We didn't wait. We acted. You nearly died, the ambassador roared. Yes, Minji agreed. We did. Because that was the job. Because someone had to do it. Because maintenance isn't about glory or recognition. It's about keeping people safe. The council chamber fell silent. Finally, one of the elder representatives, a being so old its species name had been forgotten, spoke in a voice like grinding stone. The human speaks truth. For too long, we have treated ancient infrastructure as mysteries to be wondered at or dangers to be avoided. Never as responsibilities to be maintained. This has been our failure, not humanity's. The debate continued for hours, but the decision was ultimately made. Earth would lead the Galactic Infrastructure Maintenance Authority. With support from any species willing to contribute, the Zarak Collective could join or not, as they wished. To Minji's surprise, the Zarak ambassador approached her privately after the session. You shamed us in the council, he said bluntly. I stated facts, Minji replied. Facts that revealed our failure. The ambassador was quiet for a moment. The Zarak Collective wishes to contribute 5 engineering ships and 1,000 personnel to your authority. We have always prided ourselves on our strength. Perhaps it is time we use that strength to build and maintain, not just to destroy. Minji felt a smile tugging at her lips. We would be honored to have you. 2 weeks later, Minji was cleared to leave the medical station. She stood on the bridge of the Practical Solutions once more, looking at her crew. Davis was back at his station, still pale but determined. Jae-sung was coordinating with a fleet of ships from 9 different species, all waiting for orders. Director Park, Jae-sung said formally, using her new title. All ships report ready. Where do we start? Minji pulled up the list of ancient structures needing evaluation. Dozens of sites, hundreds of potential problems, years of work ahead. But for the first time in 50,000 years, someone was paying attention. Someone was ready to do the maintenance that everyone else had ignored. We start with the closest crisis, she said. Then we work our way through the list. One structure at a time, one repair at a time. She paused, then added with a slight smile. And someone please create a proper maintenance schedule. We're not going to let another 40,000 years pass without inspections. The fleet moved out. Humans and aliens working together, armed with toolboxes and determination. The galaxy was learning a new lesson. The most important job is often the one nobody else wants to do. 6 months had passed since Gate 7's repair, and the galaxy had changed in ways nobody expected. Minji stood on an observation deck overlooking one of the ancient architect facilities, watching teams from 15 different species working together on repairs. It was strange seeing Korthak engineers consulting with human technicians, or Zarak warriors, carefully installing delicate sensor equipment under the guidance of small Mirathi specialists. Director Park, we have a situation. Davis's voice came through her communicator. He was leading a team at Gate 15, hundreds of light years away. The repairs are going well. But we found something in the maintenance logs. What kind of something? Minji asked, already moving toward the communications center. An explanation for what happened to the architects, Davis replied, his voice heavy. You need to see this. 20 minutes later, Minji was reviewing the translated files. As she read, her stomach tightened. The truth was simpler and sadder than anyone had imagined. The architects had not been destroyed by war or plague. They had not transcended to another plane of existence or been wiped out by a cosmic disaster. They had simply stopped maintaining their infrastructure. The records told the story clearly. The architects had been incredibly advanced, building wonders that lasted millennia. Over time, they began to believe their technology was perfect, that it would last forever without care. Maintenance schedules were extended, then eliminated. Resources were diverted to building new projects instead of caring for existing ones. Small failures began occurring, but they were ignored or patched quickly. Then larger failures cascaded. Power grids collapsed. Transportation networks failed. Life support systems in space habitats malfunctioned. By the time the architects realized their mistake, it was too late. Their entire civilization depended on infrastructure they had forgotten how to maintain. Within a single generation, they collapsed completely. Pride, Minji whispered, reading the final log entries. They were too proud to admit their creations needed constant care. She called an emergency meeting of the Galactic Infrastructure Maintenance Authority. Representatives from all member species gathered virtually, their faces appearing on screens around her. I've reviewed the architect records, Minji began. I'm sending you all the files now. But here's the summary. The architects fell because they stopped maintaining their infrastructure. They thought they were beyond such basic concerns. They were wrong. They were wrong. They were wrong. They work. She watched as the various representatives read through the data. Faces showed shock, disbelief, and finally, understanding. This could happen to any of us, Crystalline Harmony said quietly. We all have old infrastructure that we take for granted. It's already starting, Minji said. Earth's teams have surveyed 12 modern facilities from various species. All of them show signs of neglected maintenance. Nothing critical yet. But the pattern is there. The Zarek ambassador leaned forward. What do you propose, Director? Minji had been thinking about this since she read the architect records. We expand our mission. The Galactic Infrastructure Maintenance Authority doesn't just handle ancient structures. We establish maintenance standards for all critical infrastructure. Regular inspections, mandatory repairs, shared knowledge and resources. You want to inspect our facilities? One of the newer species representatives asked, sounding offended. I want to help you avoid the architect's fate. Minji replied firmly. Look at the data. They were more advanced than any current civilization. If it happened to them, it can happen to us. The only way to prevent it is constant vigilance and regular maintenance. The debate went on for hours. Some species saw the wisdom in Minji's proposal. Others felt it was too intrusive. The Korthak Communion proposed a compromise. Voluntary inspections with mandatory repairs for any critical safety issues. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. The authority began expanding its operations, training engineers from dozens of species in maintenance protocols. Human concepts like preventive maintenance and safety inspections spread through the galactic community. 3 months later, the authority faced its biggest test yet. A distress call came from an ancient defensive platform orbiting an inhabited world in the Helios sector. The platform had been there for 30,000 years. Dormant, but still functional. Now, it was activating on its own, and its weapons were charging. Minji took the practical solutions and 3 support ships to investigate. When they arrived, the platform was already glowing with power, its massive cannons tracking the planet below. 4 billion people lived on that world. If the platform fired, extinction was certain. This is Director Park of the Galactic Infrastructure Maintenance Authority. Minji broadcast on all frequencies. Ancient defensive platform, respond. We are authorized maintenance contractors here to assist with your malfunction. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, text appeared on their screens in the now familiar architect language. Malfunction? No malfunction detected. Threat assessment in progress. What threat? Minji asked quickly. Platform. Specify what threat you have detected. Scanning for architect civilization. Architect civilization. Not detected. Protocol. Alpha 12 activated. Preservation of infrastructure. In absence of architects. Minji felt ice in her veins. She pulled up everything she knew about architect defensive protocols. Alpha 12 meant the platform was preparing to sterilize the planet below to prevent unauthorized civilizations from accessing architect technology. Platform. I am Director Minji Park. Authorized maintenance contractor. The architects are gone. We have been granted authority to maintain their infrastructure. Cancel Protocol Alpha 12. Maintenance authority insufficient for defensive protocol override. Alpha 12 proceeding. Sterilization in 6 minutes. 6 minutes to save 4 billion lives. Minji's mind raced through options. They couldn't destroy the platform. It was too powerful. They couldn't evacuate the planet. They couldn't hack the system in time. But maybe. Platform. I invoke Emergency Protocol Omega, Minji said, hoping desperately that such a protocol existed. Infrastructure self-preservation. Override. Omega Protocol does not exist, the platform replied. 5 minutes to sterilization. Minji switched tactics. Platform. Analysis question. If you sterilize the planet, what happens to the architect infrastructure on that world? A pause. Query acknowledged. Analyzing. There are 7 architect structures on that planet, Minji continued, pulling up data frantically. Power stations, manufacturing facilities, and a gate terminal. If you fire, you will destroy them. They are already degraded from lack of maintenance. Destruction would be permanent. 4 minutes to sterilization. Collateral infrastructure damage. Acceptable to prevent unauthorized access. But there is no one to repair them, Minji shouted. The architects are gone. If you destroy their infrastructure, it's lost forever. Is that preservation? The platform went silent. The weapons continued charging, but Minji saw the targeting systems flicker slightly. Platform. I have maintained architect infrastructure. I have repaired it. I have kept it operational when it would have failed. The architects built you to protect their civilization. That civilization is gone. But their legacy remains. And we are trying to preserve it. 3 minutes, the platform announced. But there was something different in its transmission. If you fire, you destroy the very thing you were built to protect, Minji said quietly. Is that what the architects would have wanted? Or would they want their creation to continue, maintained by others who respect what they built? 2 minutes of silence. The longest 2 minutes of Minji's life. Below, the planet's population prepared for the end, not knowing that a human engineer was arguing philosophy with an ancient weapons system. Finally. Analysis complete. Logic accepted. Infrastructure preservation takes priority over threat elimination. Alpha 12. Protocol. Cancelled. Minji nearly collapsed in relief. Around her, her crew let out breaths they had been holding. Platform. This is Director Park. We would like to perform maintenance on your systems. You have been operating for 30,000 years without inspection. We should verify you are functioning within safe parameters. Agreed. Maintenance access granted. Updating defensive protocols to recognize Galactic Infrastructure Maintenance Authority as authorized personnel. As her team began their work, Minji sent a message to the planet below, explaining what had happened. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Gratitude, relief, and something else, respect. Word of the incident spread quickly through the galaxy. Humanity had now twice prevented catastrophic disasters. not through military might or advanced technology, but through basic maintenance work and logical argument with ancient machines. A month later, the Galactic Council held a special ceremony. Minji stood before representatives of hundreds of species, feeling uncomfortable in her formal uniform. She preferred work, clothes, and tool belts. The eldest council member, that ancient being whose species name had been forgotten, spoke to the assembled galaxy. For 50,000 years, we have lived among the ruins of the architects. We have feared their technology, worshipped it, studied it, but never truly cared for it. Humanity taught us that the greatest civilizations fall not to conquest or disaster, but to neglect. They have reminded us that someone must always do the unglamorous work of maintenance, of care, of constant attention to the details that keep civilization running. Minji received the council's highest honor, but she knew the real honor was in the work itself. As she returned to her ship afterward, Davis was waiting with a new list of structures needing inspection. 23 new sites identified, he reported. Plus, the Confederation of New Worlds is requesting our help establishing maintenance protocols for their systems. Good, Minji said, feeling more comfortable now that she was back to work. Let's start with the sites closest to populated areas. And, Davis, make sure we schedule follow-up inspections. I don't want to return in 50,000 years and find everything falling apart again. Davis grinned. Already done, Director. I've scheduled inspections for every structure in our database. The galaxy's infrastructure will be checked, maintained, and safe. Then let's get to work. The Practical Solutions and its growing fleet of support vessels moved on to the next job. Behind them, the ancient defensive platform continued its vigil, now watching for maintenance needs rather than threats. Across the galaxy, species were learning to value engineers as much as warriors, maintenance as much as innovation, and somewhere in the records of the long-dead architects, if they could have known, there might have been approval. Their legacy survived not because it was perfect, but because someone cared enough to maintain it. Years later, when new ancient structures were discovered, the galactic response became standard. No more fear, no more worship, no more dangerous probing. Instead, a simple call. Get the humans. Tell them to bring their maintenance manuals, because humanity had learned something on their harsh world that other species had forgotten. Nothing lasts forever without care. Not bridges, not buildings, not even the greatest wonders of ancient civilizations. Someone always has to do the work. Someone always has to maintain the infrastructure, and humanity had accepted that responsibility. Not because it was glorious, but because it was necessary. Because billions of lives depended on someone checking the structures everyone else took for granted. Because at the end of the day, the galaxy needed engineers with toolboxes more than it needed heroes with weapons. The architects had built wonders, humanity kept them running, and that made all the difference.